This is Roy Cannaday from Epic Gaming Nights.
I'm Matt.
And this is Robert with Epic Gaming Night.
And today we're talking about Inish. Inish is a drafting area control game for 2 to 4 players. The point of the game is to be able to maintain one of the 3 win conditions for the game. To have your units spread out into 6 different territories like Orange has here, or to be a chieftain over at least 6 enemy clans. As long as you have more clans than a single one of your enemy in an area, then you are the chieftain of that area. And as long as there are at least 6 of them in the area together and you are the chieftain, then you apply for the win condition. Lastly, if you have clans in areas with at least 6 different sanctuaries, like Blue does here, then you can apply for the win condition for that victory condition. Once you have met one of these goals, as an action on your turn, you can take the Pretender token. This declares to your opponents that you are able to win the game, and if you continue to meet those conditions at the beginning of the next round, you'll be declared the winner. Each player starts the game by choosing one of the 4 clan colors to be their clan for the remainder of the game. At the beginning of the game, you will randomly choose who is the Bryn. The Bryn will choose which of the starting sectors that the capital is in. But then after that, whenever someone is chieftain of the territory with a capital in it, then they will become the new Bryn. The Bryn gets to go first during the round and also deals out all the cards. Also, if you are the Bryn when you and another player are both winning the game by taking a Pretender token, then the Bryn will be the winner over the other player. Each round starts with the Bryn shuffling up the action cards and dealing out 4 to each player, setting one of the cards aside. Then each player will look at their hands of cards, choosing 1 to keep and the other 3 to pass to the next player in turn order. There are all sorts of different cards, some that let you add clans to territories that you have clans in already, some that let you move your clans to another area and start a clash. There are also cards that let you add new structures, whether they be citadels or sanctuaries, and there are also cards with all sorts of different abilities, some that even can cancel the action cards that other players play. After you choose your card, you'll pass the other 3 cards in your hand to the next player. Then you will look at the 3 cards that your opponent passed to you, and you could either choose one of the cards that were passed to you, or take the card that you already had chosen, put it back in this group of cards, and choose 2 of the cards that your opponent had passed to you. The draft continues until each player has a hand of 4 cards, and then you will begin the round. Let's take a look at a few of these action cards. The Citadel and Sanctuary action cards allow you to put those structures on the boards. Citadels can help protect units in a clash, and Sanctuaries can help you meet the in-game goals so that you can fulfill one of the win conditions. The Festival lets you place another clan in an area where there's a sanctuary. You also put down the Festival token, which means whenever a clash is started in that sector, the person that starts the clash will have to lose one of their clans. There are also several action cards that will let you gain epic tail cards. These will be new cards that you can play during your turn, but you will keep them from round to round when they haven't been played, so that way they won't be redrafted and you can play them when is most opportune for your strategy. The epic tail cards come with a wide variety of different abilities, but are very rare in the game, seeing that you have to play the correct card to be able to gain them. There are also action cards that let you gain a deed token. Deeds are very special tokens because they make the requirements to meet one of the in-game goals as a win condition lowered by 1. So if you have a deed, you would only have to control 5 territories, or only have units in areas with 5 sanctuaries, or only be able to be a chieftain over 5 of the enemy units. So it can make it a lot easier to win, especially if you have multiple deed tokens. Every single territory has an advantage card associated with it. If you are the chieftain of a territory at the beginning of the round, you will take that territory's advantage card. These advantage cards have all sorts of different special abilities and can be highly sought over as players are trying to control that area to take control of those areas' advantage cards to have more cards and more abilities to be able to play on their turn. Some action cards will make your clans move around the board, and this can initiate a clash. Immediately when a clash occurs, the players involved in the clash have to decide if they are going to settle the clash aggressively or peacefully. If they decide peacefully, then there is no combat and no units are removed from the board. If they decide to be aggressive, then you go into combat. At the beginning of a clash, each player who is not the instigator take turns adding one of their clansmen to a citadel, if they so desire. Clansmen that are in a citadel are completely ignored during the clash. Then, starting with the instigator, you can either attack, withdraw, or play an epic tail maneuver. If you attack an enemy clan, they must either remove one of their clansmen from the territory or discard one of their green action cards. There are several action cards that can be played during combat as a maneuver or as a response to different things happening during the clash. Players play back and forth, choosing whether to attack enemy units, removing different clansmen off the board until there is none left, or they decide to continue peacefully and not continue the attack. Once an entire side is wiped out, the clash has ended. Then you remove all clansmen that were protected by citadels and put them back in the territory. Players continue playing action cards, triggering different abilities until they run out of action cards to play. After each player has passed, you will start a new round, determining who the Bryn is based on who has the capital citadel, and then dealing out a new hand of action cards. And this continues going back and forth until one player has been able to successfully complete an in-game goal, claim the Pretender token, and keep it until the beginning of the next round. Overall, Inish is a heavily strategic game with beautiful artwork. We're trying to lay claim to the throne and become the chieftain of all Inish. Awesome. So what are our thoughts on Inish?
Looks great.
It does, actually. I'll eat crow, because I've said in the past that I didn't think it looked so good.
Yeah. The artwork didn't win you over at first.
It did not win me over at first. But again, we were playing another game, and I was just looking over while people were playing it. And I was like, the pastel doesn't do too much for me. But actually now seeing it, I like it. Yeah. I'm not going to say I really like it, but I like it. It's different.
It's definitely interesting. It has that like Celtish feel to the whole like artwork, and it's definitely like cool to see something different because it's not like the normal thing. You were a really big fan of the artwork, right?
Yeah, it's traditional Celtic artwork, so it has this sort of stained glass feel almost to a lot of it. Yeah. But conversely, all of the placement tiles have their own interesting artwork that isn't necessarily the traditional Celtic style.
It's definitely a bright game.
Yeah. It's very pretty.
But I also like, though, how they cut out the tiles. Like, it's unique. I have not seen another game board like this where it's like it could be a ninja star.
For real.
But yeah.
The tiles are a deadly weapon.
Game board.
They are.
What do you guys think about the drafting? Like, I know we're big fans of drafting games overall. There's the interesting part of being able to pick cards back up into your hand and switch cards out. But the pool of cards you draft from is extremely limited.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
I like the whole thing. I feel like if other games had that mechanic where you could discard a card that you had previously drafted and take 2 out of your current one or whatever, I think that would make a lot more games like Terraforming Mars or Blood Rage a bit more interesting to play. But
oh my gosh,
this one, like, wouldn't it? That'd be crazy. But like this one, because like you were saying, the pool of cards is so small.
I mean, 3 players, there's 13 cards, period, and one of those is set off to the side at the beginning.
You're very
so you see the same cards over and over and over again.
Yeah, man, you get migration every turn, and you get real salty.
Like if you don't have guys to attack with, and everybody passes you the attack cards, and you're kind of forced to take the attack cards, you're kind of like, well, I don't really have anything to do.
I pass.
Yeah.
The full round.
But I think it makes it very much like, I feel like this game is super like
calculated,
and very abstractish in the way you're trying to be like, okay, I need to move one guy into this space and one guy into that space, or have just one more guy than him here, but make sure I don't get rid of enough of his guys. It's very much like trying to figure out how to do that like checkmate thing, sort of chess-ish with the taking the pretender token and then other players trying to pile on you. You got to try to figure out how you can make it happen so that people can't pile on you.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, though, in what we were playing, since the card pool was so small, there were 2 cards that would let you get one of the Epic Tail cards, the red cards, and there was only 1 card that would let you take the yellow tile placement cards. And so ultimately, I feel like there's a lot of stuff that you're not going to be able to draw or see, so you can end up with a hand that actually just isn't going to benefit you in any way, shape, or form. And so there's no way to be
100% agree.
Very calculating on that. That's exactly what this game is about, is calculating, but there is always the chance that you're just going to get drafted garbage.
Well, and you can't calculate that because it's what's presented to you, and so you can do your best based off of what you have. But I like the game. It took me a second for the first couple rounds to understand the combat, but I really enjoyed that. But I agree. I typically like drafts. In fact, I really enjoy drafts. But this being such a small draft, it felt like every round one of us got shafted. Yeah, like it wasn't enough to be able to come back. Like there were 3 rounds in a row where Roy and I were putting out 4 and 5 guys around, and Matt was putting out a guy. Yeah. And if you're trying to
you very much have to try to set yourself up to try to make the cards work for you. But if
it's shuffled and then it's dealt face down, so you don't know what you're getting drafted, and then you pick up your 4. If you don't get the cards, then you don't get the cards. Or
conversely, the whole thing about taking 2, it only applies once you already have a card in your hand. So if you start off with a handful of cards and you're like, oh man, I really need these 2, you can only pick 1, and you just gotta hope it comes back around.
Yeah, and it's not going to.
It doesn't happen.
Because there's a limited amount of the really good cards.
And everybody, that's the other thing that I like, is everybody knows what's in play, though. So people know what they need to draft, and they know what they want to draft, so the drafting goes a lot faster, whereas in Blood Rage, you can kind of sit there and drag on, or like even with Terraforming Mars, you're sitting there reading cards, going, "Oh well, I don't." Is this?
Once you know what the cards are, you're like, "Okay, so I got this card again."
It does definitely go very quick,
but it's also a little bit of a paranoia because when you don't see that card coming your way, you're like, "Oh, got that card."
Well, that's like we played some round. We played a little bit where I was trying to bait out like the card that lets you like counter another card. I was like trying to do things that I didn't care about as much first to try to bait that out a little bit, so that way I could do the things that I wanted to do later. So there's a little bit of strategy in that as well. What did you guys think of the combat? Because the combat's very much like War of Attrition, where you just when you go into combat, you just destroy and obliterate each other, and there's just a couple guys left because you just wrecked each other so much. And I mean, you can stop combat at any point. You can be like, oh no, we're not going to fight anymore, but who stops fighting?
Well, you can and you can't. Yeah. You can stop combat if you have like a place to retreat to or something. Yeah. And if you decide to stop combat, your enemy doesn't. You have to hope that they want to stop combat.
Negotiate that.
I liked it. It just took me a second because I was like, all right, where's the dice that we have to roll? Yeah. Like, what's going on? And it's
definitely not that style.
Choose to get rid of something. Mm-hmm. And so I like that. It was a nice, fresh mechanic. I don't think I've played a game like this, at least in a while, that I can think on top of my head that had a War of Attrition like this so much. Mm-hmm. What's that? Rex, where you do the bidding. Yeah. And like it's an attrition in that way, but this is so different because it's
I lose
one
a guy,
at a
you
time.
lose a guy.
It's not
I lose a guy, you lose a guy. I lose a guy, you play a card to make it so you don't lose a guy. Yeah. I lose a guy, you lose a guy.
And then it's like, do you want to? No. You want to keep going? Yeah. I mean, it was fun.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
I mean, I really like it, what you guys were saying. The War of Attrition aspect is really interesting. I don't think you see very many other board games that accurately sort of portray warfare in that regard. Like, it's not large swaths of people are disappearing in an instant anymore. Yeah. You know, it's people here or there getting picked off and taken out. And so it's very emblematic and representative of how combat was in those days. Awesome. Minus the disease and gangrenous affairs.
So what are our thoughts overall? For me personally, I really like the game. I like the art. I like all the different stuff. But I'm a huge fan of area control games. Yeah. And like I will play this again. I like to play this. But it's not like my very favorite area control game just because the abstractness of it. Yeah. I think it's cool. I think it's fun. But it's not my favorite game of all time. What do you guys think?
You want to go?
How much is the MSRP for this?
I think it's in that regular board game-ish price, like in
50 to 60.
Yeah, 50 to 60 area.
Okay,
I paid like 50 for it.
Okay, so. That's not too bad. I enjoy it. I didn't do well in the game we played. Certainly not. But the art by itself is almost worth a certain price point. And if you if you get behind, or if you think any of the things that we've mentioned thus far interest you in any way, shape, or form, it's probably worth just picking up to check it out and keeping it just for the art, even if you didn't like it.
Yeah, and I mean, if you like the whole abstract thing of like trying to figure out how to sneak in here and get the different things and get your guys situated in the right areas of the board to be able to pull off the win, that's what this game's all about.
It does feel very much like chess, as opposed to like more traditional area control games like Game of Thrones.
You're not chucking the dice. You're not doing all the randomness. It's very much about the randomness is the cards that you get drafted. But you have to try to figure out how to make it work with the rounds that you get the different things. What is your final thoughts?
I like it. It is fun. I would play it again. I personally don't know if I would buy it just because the draft bothered me so much. Like there was a round where I wanted to be able to do like move and attack, and I couldn't because I didn't get the cards. And you don't have the options. That's the one downside is the lack of options on the draft. We all get 12 cards.
Sometimes even when you get that card that you really
only...
want and somebody cancels it, that can stab you in the back pretty bad too.
It was fun.
So definitely check out Inish. It's pretty cool and worth a look. And that was Epic Gaming Night's thoughts.
Boom.
This is Roy Cannaday from Epic Gaming Night.
Hi.
And this is Robert Newman from Epic Gaming Night.
I'm Matt.
I can't do it.
You should keep that.
Hi.
I don't know how I can do it.
For this review, we're going to talk like...
Anyway, Mickey Mouse is here. You got the Iron Mine, the Moor. Over there, it's the valley. Got a cove down there.
We should just have Matt do the overview of the game.
Oh, boy.
And Mickey Mouse. That would actually be pretty hilarious.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.